Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing something different. I'm going to start a series of videos that are going to be very informational. Definitely videos that you guys need to pay attention to, especially if you're planning to have works going on in your house, for instance, extensions, lofts, maybe some building works at some point, whether it's now or in the future. Just good information to know, and from the perspective of a builder who works in trades. So this has been something I've been thinking about for a while. I have had so much experiences of visiting jobs that may be sort of horror story jobs, jobs that other builders have been on, and I've been coming in to sort of have a look and quote works that needs to be maybe finished or rectified. Very recently, I think last week, I went to see a job. Actually, I went to see this job right in the beginning of COVID, actually. So over 2 years ago, I think I went to see this job, and I recently got asked to come and see it again. And this job, if I may end up taking this job. If I do, it definitely one you guys are gonna be for a shock of this project. Okay, this is basically one of the worst horror stories I have ever seen in my whole time of in the trades. This is definitely the worst I've ever seen. This is an extension stroke refurbishment of a quite substantial house, 3-story house in South London, and I mean, cowboy builder obviously is the term many of you might have heard before, but probably the worst I've ever seen. This family have literally been left with a sort of a half derelict house. They're out 90 grand or approximately for this job, and not looking to get any of it back, possibly. I mean, I hope they do, but it's been going on for years now. They may not see that money back, and unfortunately, I would say 90% of the work needs to be redone. So it's really unfortunate situation, and I see it so often, and it's heartbreaking, because a lot of people are excited about doing sort of renovations, developing their homes and stuff. A lot of people save up a lot, and they have real dreams of how they want their home to be, and then they get sort of done in by rogue sort of builders or whatever. Obviously, I'm not here to bash builders, because obviously I'm one myself, and I hate people generalizing us as all dodgy or whatever. But as any industry, there's going to be bad apples, and I want to sort of maybe try to help protect some of you guys. So the idea is, I'm in quite a few forums online, like particularly Facebook. I'm in quite a few building forums to do with sort of extensions and renovation work, developing work, and you see lots of people who maybe are either looking for a builder posting in those groups. So there's a lot of builders in there that maybe lurk around to get jobs and stuff. I've never solicited any jobs on any forum. I'm blessed I haven't needed to, but you see sort of people asking on those forums, I need a builder, or does anybody know a builder in this particular area? It could be London, it could be Manchester, or wherever. And or people post their ongoing jobs, whether it's something that they're doing as a DIY, or a lot of the time they've got a builder on there, and they sometimes post pictures or ask questions about their own projects, with a view to sort of getting a second opinion. So a lot of people have mixed views about that sort of people doing this. A lot of builders don't like it. They say, so well, it's disrespectful, why didn't you go and ask your builder? Some people are fine with it. They're just like, everybody sometimes wants a second opinion. It's just like you go to the doctor, and sometimes you want to get a second opinion about something a doctor said. Not everybody's always going to be 100% right. So I'm sort of cool with it, generally speaking. But I have seen quite a few interesting posts, and I'm gonna start reviewing some of them and actually explaining some of the things that have gone wrong and how to avoid those things going wrong. So I'm going to be doing one now where I'm going to show you guys a post that someone posted and a couple of posts around this particular project, and some of the things that I spotted even when I had seen these posts before, you know, future posts had come out. I saw potential issues, and unfortunately, you know, this person seems to be in a really sticky situation. So I'm gonna just read the original post from this person, and then I'm going to I will read the most recent post from this person, aka the dilemma that they're in now, and then we'll look at their first post and how potentially they got in this situation and how you can avoid yourself getting in a situation like this. All right, guys, so this is the more recent post from this person, and it sort of explains the situation that they're currently in. So we're just going to go through this real quickly, and then we are going to go back to their first post and see how they managed to get to this point and how they could have avoided this. So they said, builder is refusing to turn up after getting 90% payment as he received inspector email that his job is not acceptable by building reg, so has to be rectified. Now he's demanding extra money to change over the wrong roofing joists where he is at fault, plus extra money for his proposed half meter, plus extra for all remaining flooring, bifold door, plastering all interiors, by lame excuses about high cost of materials. Where I have his messages and voice notes, he always said, brother, I have all in stock already, and remaining is booked, coming from Luton, Birmingham, Leeds, etc., whilst he took the payments. He also said, I will complete your project within same amount, but now making false statements. On the paper, it was 3.5 meter depth by property width. He proposed himself to do an extra half meter within the same price because he was very happy to receive advance at that day. I have his confirmation voice messages only for extra doing within same price but not on paper. The time frame was 6 weeks on paper, where it took 6 months already. I was exhausted by his reckless behavior as well. He never ever demanded extra money in 6 months, but now from 7th month he starts blackmailing. Foundation, 3 cavity walls and door window lintels and floor joists only, which are wrong as per regulations. So what it seemed, just going to go through some of the main points here. What it's saying, this person seems to be saying, is that this builder has, as far as the build is concerned, they have the foundation, they've got 3 cavity walls, which is probably all the walls. They have door and window lintels, so no doors or windows or bifolds or anything have been installed yet. And they also have only the roof joists, so the roof doesn't have any tiles on it, there's no felt, there's no insulation on the roof, just the joists, which they are saying the building inspector, after inspecting the roof, has said that the roof joists are wrong and that they need to be changed. Now obviously, if you get roof joists wrong, typically it's not something that can be salvaged, i.e. if you've got the wrong size in timbers, they're not big enough for the spans, and the building control are not happy with the size in the timbers, it just basically means you're going to take it all out and you're going to have to install new rafters, which will be larger rafters. Okay, so that's essentially money that's gone down the drain. So it seems that he's saying he doesn't have the money to do that, so he's demanding extra money to do that. Now, one of the other interesting points here is that this person says that the builder has been paid 90% of the money. So that is a lot of money to pay for a building to be at that stage. Now obviously we don't know whether they've paid for just a shell, if they've paid for sort of a full complete painted flooring and everything. We don't know that, but I would even say as a shell, 90% at this point, not having a roof on it, to me sounds like too much money has been handed over to the builder. Also, they did mention that there's meant to be bifold doors, which could be a substantial amount of money. So I could imagine that that 10% maybe that's remaining on the job wouldn't be enough to finish this job. So they seem to be already in a sticky situation here. Another important factor here, which is a concern, is that they're saying they've received an email from the inspector saying that the rafters are not right. So that means that they have had an inspection, at least one inspection, and there are certain things they're not happy with, so that needs to be replaced. So there's also another thing in here, which is something definitely I would say straight away that people need to be very, very careful for. I've seen this so many times where a builder puts pressure onto someone to hand over money. So for instance, this person has mentioned that the original extension was meant to be 3.5 meters deep, and the builder said they were willing to make it an extra half meter, so that's 4 meters for the same price. What it says, they would be happy to do that if they received an advance on that day. So for me, that is already a red flag. Anytime a builder is pressuring you to hand over money as quickly as possible, it typically means that builder needs the funds for maybe personal reasons or some other reason, and they are just trying to find a way that they can get their hands on some money very quickly. And if that is the case, that would mean that that money will not be going into your house. So even there's promises, and this is where, you know, customers sometimes have to take some of the blame. Some people do like to sort of, you know, get too much for free or expect a deal to be too good, and if it sounds too good, it typically is. So typically a builder's not going to give you another half meter for free on an extension, because at this rate now, typically you're looking sort of around £2,000 to £3,000 a square meter. So, you know, if someone's going to go out an extra half meter, and let's say you've got a 5 meter wide extension, that's potentially 2.5 square meters for free, which is, you know, going to be five to £10,000 worth of work, labor and materials. So it's typically impossible for a builder to really offer you that. So that's a red flag. So one thing with customers, be careful. You know, you've got to also pay attention to these things. Don't get sucked into deals that don't make sense or sound too good to be true. And also never feel pressured to give over money for someone to start work. Okay guys, so this is the first post that this person posted in the forum, and this is what it says: need expert advice please. From right to left, 9 bricks to 6 bricks. Is this normal practice to manage the level of foundation? Left side of 6 bricks is joining edge to the main building. There are 2 layers of strange blocks all over the concrete layer of 15 centimeter approximately. So what we're going to focus is on, if you see the image here, you can clearly see one side of the wall has 6 bricks, 6 bricks high, or 6 courses, and the other side has 9 courses. So we're talking a difference of 3 courses, which is about 22 centimeters, 22.5 centimeters. That is a massive difference to go from one end to another. So the first thing is typically the issue would have been here is that the foundation concrete, when it was poured, was not level. And it's to have a foundation, I find it almost impossible to have a foundation that's 22 centimeters out of plumb. It's, you know, it's because concrete itself has some sort of leveling. Unless it's really, really dry, it tends to have its sort of leveling properties when you pour it anyway. So to get it sort of 20 centimeters out is actually, to me, shocking that how someone can actually do that. And because that's such a simple thing to do, and what such a fundamental part of a job is the foundations, at this point, I was advising somebody, if you had a builder that had a foundation or even built this wall, which was 3 levels out on one side, I don't think there should be any sort of thoughts other than firing the builder. That should literally be the end of that project. And it's difficult in these circumstances because you spent money into something like that. At that point can still be rectified. That wall will definitely have to come down, but you could still rectify at that point for a fairly reasonable amount of money. But to continue with a build with such poor work at such an early stage is a false economy. So don't be afraid if you have a situation like this where, obviously seek advice and so on. If something is sort of like really, really, really out in the early stages of the build, this builder is just clearly out of their depth, and they clearly are not able to build to any level of standard, which we're obviously seeing as we progress with the job. So in a situation like this, what this person should have done, should cut their losses and ran. They should have got another builder in to have a look at this, and any other builder probably would have told them the same thing, and they should have literally got rid of that and that builder at that point. Right, guys, so here's another post from the same person. This is a couple of months later. So they have basically got to the point where they're at the roof joist stage, which is the point that they are at when they've got this sort of dilemma, which was the first message that we read. So at this point, they are now discussing with the builder about the size of the joists. Okay, so they said, "Hi there, expert advice needed, please. Single story extension," and they've got the sizes here, 6 meter long joist from the main wall to the new wall. So that's the span of the depth of this extension. Okay, so they say here 47 by 175 millimeters, having furring slope on top, where the joist gap is 37 centimeters. Right, guys, so a couple of things I want to just go through. One thing as well, and this is something that's happened, I see this so often, and I have this conversation with people when I go into quote jobs. I always ask, the first thing I always ask when someone asks about an extension, first thing I ask is, do you have any drawings? Do you have any planning? Or are you doing drawings? Some people decide to go the route permitted development. Some people tend to go planning. I personally think it makes sense to apply for the extra costs. It makes sense, and you had an architect involved where you've at least visualized the concept of what you're trying to build. Now, many builders can sort of build off a conceptual design you maybe give them and sort of sketch. If it's very straightforward and very typical, they wouldn't necessarily need plans, but number one thing they will need will be building regs. So whether you go permitted development, whether you go via the planning portal and you get a planning permission, you do need to build to building regs. So, to my opinion, building regs is the most important thing. It's where your building gets signed off and the job will be recognized, by mortgage lenders, by your insurance, etc., etc. So never skip on building regs. And I see so many people either are not aware of what building regs are. They go and get planning. They say, I've got planning, I'm ready to build. And when I ask about building regs, structural drawings, they look at me like, what's that? Structural drawings are very important. I will not build without them. If anyone asks me to build an extension and they have not got any structural, any sort of structural drawings or anything, I won't build. I won't take the job until that's done. And this job is a typical example of why you need it. So never leave things like sizing of joists to your builder, because number one, the builder should not be left in a position where they have to do the calculations, because as you can see in this situation, there was joists that were put in 175 millimeter joists, and building control have obviously not happy with those joist sizing. So what they might do is they may say, it needs to be 200 mil for that span. You can sit there and argue all day, but you've got to have something to back up your arguments. Now, if you have structural drawings that have already been approved by the council or building control before you start the job, all you've got to do is refer back to those drawings and say, here's the drawings, here's the sizes on the calculations, and pretty much no building control is going to give you any hassle from that. They're going to go like, well, if that's what's in the drawing that we've approved, then go for it. And then also, as the builder, you know what you're building to. You've not got to question anything. You've not got to try and find out what the answers are. Your steel sizes, your timber sizes, your foundation depths, you find it, your foundation widths. You've not got to your insulation sizes. They're all sort of being done for you and done by a professional. So if this person had their building, to me it seems like they don't have any building structural drawings, because if they did, then they would have been able to refer that back to those drawings with the builder, and that then would have been the sizes that they have used. But it seems like they've left the builder to their own devices, and they've just picked what they've thought it is. Now, 6 meter span is a very big span, and more than likely 175 is not big enough. I can't tell you the calculation off my head, but it doesn't sound like it's big enough. So for such a long depth, building control is definitely gonna double check the sizes on that, and they are gonna flag something like that up. So what I'm basically saying, the main point here is building regulation drawings. Pay the little bit extra or whatever you've got to pay, because these are foundational things. The money you are spending is well spent. Spend your money with your architect, spend your money with your structural engineer, and get your drawings and get everything so that the builder's life, number one, is easier, and that the builder can build correctly, and you're not going to have costly mistakes and then have disputes with the builders about who's going to pay for it and who's not going to pay for it. If you had invested that money into building regulation drawings, they wouldn't have been in this situation that they're in now. So from the comments that I read, the person said they spent 90% so far, and they said that was about 45,000. So that puts their building at about 50k to do, and for 45,000 they don't even have a roof on it, which is unfortunate. And more than likely, obviously, this builder's sort of evading them, so they are going to have to spend the money to get this roof done, which is going to cost them thousands again. And this build more than likely is going to go into the 65k to complete. So it's going to be a very costly lesson for this person. And then sometimes people in situations where they don't have the money, that they've already stretched to their budget. And I'm going to talk in another video about budgets and pricing and the ways to protect yourself for this not to happen. Things like payment stages, so that you don't end up spending 90% of your budget when only 50% of the work is done, for example. You must have payment schedules and structures that will protect you from these situations, and also protects the builder. It works both ways. So this I just wanted to sort of just something for sort of guidance, and just something to really to look at and discuss. I think that there's so much of these I see almost on a daily basis, that I want to bring some of these to light once in a while, and that we can sort of dissect them, and maybe there'll be some nuggets that you can get out of it that will help you if you're planning to do your own projects, so that you don't end up falling in the pitfalls that some other people have fallen into. So that was all I wanted to share for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and hope you learned something. It was informative, educational. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you want to add to this, please do so. Let's get the conversation going, and we'll see you guys on the next video. So take care. See you soon.